some historians who claim that there are some possibilities of influence over each other, and then I will say that why there are no possibilities, and even though there are two thinking streams, there may not be influence over each other. The original thoughts can be produced at the same time at the different areas. That is what I am trying to say. Even though I personally believe that it is our influence on the Greeks that it produced the enzyme, but I don't have any evidence to it. So first, so in Nyaya, I actually originally written the thesis in the Sanskrita, but I will try to tell you. So in Nyaya, why the Gautama has produced the Nyaya Sutta? First we have to understand that. The Gautama has produced the Nyaya Sutta to achieve the moksha. So Gautama, why he want to achieve the moksha through Nyaya? Because he believes that there is a sadrisha and vaisodrisha jnana. If there are 7 padarthas, if you completely understand the sadrisha and vaisodrisha of the padartha, the similarities and dissimilarities between the padartha, between the entities, then only you will get the real knowledge. Then only that knowledge will be produced in the moksha. In the case of Aristotle also, he says that his aim for reasoning is to achieve the state of eudaimonia. What is eudaimonia? He has actually, many translators have failed to explain the eudaimonia, and many have mistranslated. I think that the meaning of eudaimonia is flourish, to appear to a state where I feel myself as flourish, happy. Happy is very small word. Flourish can be translated. So he is not talking about something which is not mundane. He is talking about something which is mundane, and he is trying to achieve the state where a person should be virtuous using the reason as a tool. So there is a major difference here between the Aristotle and Gautama. Another thing is that the Edward Corbett is historian, and he says that the Anthony, the Republic, the Plato's Republic, it also has some logical tools, and after that, Anthony by Aristotle actually completed in the 335 to 322. So here we have to observe the historical aspect also, whether we can compute the time of the Gautama, which can prove the effect of Gautama to the world, not from the other side. So here problem arises is that we cannot, in Indian history, we cannot completely conclude the time of Gautama because of lack of evidence. So there we cannot do that. Using this tool, there is some scholar called Junankar. He says that there is a fashion in India where we say that when we compare someone with the Western idol. So if someone is very handsome, we say he is a Greek god. Okay, we say that Kalidasa is the Shakespeare of the East. So like that, Junankar, he says that there are very similarities between Aristotle and Gautama. Because of that, Gautama holds the same position as Aristotle holds in the Western world. So this is what he says. And moving forward, in the 1920, a famous scholar called Vidyabhushana, in his book History of Indian Logic, he says that, see, there are similarities between Aristotle and Gautama, hence we can conclude that the effect of at that time, before Christ era, at the common era CA, there were some people who went to the West and understood the Enzyme and came back to India. Because of the influence of Enzyme, Gautama actually produced the Indian logic. So he believes that. He is a Vidyabhushana from India. So this is right way to look the history? I but he sincerely says that there are some parts which are completely different from each other. So from that point of view, we cannot say unless we have enough material to prove that there are influence from both sides. Because he is very honest, he says that I cannot claim that whether there is influence from west or from east. Of course, I can say that there are some similarities between two ideas. That's it. So now, what I want to highlight here is that there are some similarities and there are also some non-similarities. Like in Aristotle, he uses three aspects in the Nyaya enthymine. One is major premises, another is minor premises, third one is conclusion. So if you take the example, I have translated it in Sanskrit. Helen namni stri sadhvi evasya. This is Pratinidhi. Okay. And why Thomas Purushana Nirnay Tattva. So it is decided by Thomas. But why Thomas? How we can claim that Thomas is a good person? On the basis of that, we can conclude him as a pramana. Thomas Purushasya stri Thomas Purushah stri tattva vishaye pramana. It is decided in the word that whatever Thomas says about the woman, it is pramana. So this is the Aristotelian way of explaining the logic. Now here we have observed that minor premise is hetu. If you convert the enthymeme into working Nyayasurpa, you can conclude that minor premise is hetu. Hetu means Thomas Purushena Helenachya Sadhviti Nirnita. That is the hetu. Conclusion is Ataha Helenachya Sadhya Eva Bhavati. So this is we can conclude. Here we can observe is that in Indian logic we have five angas: Pratijna, Hetu, Udaharana, Upanaya and Nigamana. Here we can observe that the Udaharana is missing in the Aristotelian way. Udaharana is not included in the main aspect. Why? He says that there are two kinds of logic. One is deductive logic, one is inductive logic. In the deductive logic is the great form of logic. He believes that. In the deductive logic, we cannot use the udaharana or the example as a part of Nyaya. In deductive logic, in inductive logic, you can use the example as an aspect of Nyaya. But that inductive logic is not a superior considering the deductive. What is so? He says that even though from this we can conclude that even though there are the aim is one, aim is similar to conclude a logical thing, but the methodology used by Gautama is precise, very precise. Considering the Aristotelian way, it is completely not precise as Gautama produces in his Granth. Another thing is that we have observed in the enthymine, he has produced lot of logical tools in many granthas. In the one thing I observed that is that udaharana is only used as a tool. It's not used as a one of the part of the Anumana Sutra. Another is if you observe the enthymine, he says that see Paris Sadhu Purusha Yataha Devi Anyebhyaha Sarvebhyaha Tameva Pariganitavati. So it is the one of the logic he uses. Here we can observe that there are two aspects. So here we can think that Devi Sadhu Purushameva Pariganitavati. This is the aspect we will not put in the Nyaya Swarupa in Indian logical system, because that is a statement itself. And if you observe it is with very closely, Aristotle believes that there are three aspects in the logical system, but if you can conclude the aspect before explaining three aspects also, then also it's okay. If you only in this sense, it also has the similarity of Dvaita, where we say only two angas are important for the logic. Vyapya and Pakshadharma. Even though we don't claim that five aspects are needed for the conclusion of the thing. But Nyaya says that there is a necessity of five aspects to conclude a thing which is not possible in the system of Nyaya, in the system of Aristotle. And I have in my paper I have quoted many logic by the Aristotle, where he says that no, I have not used that. So, in the conclusion, you can read my paper for the detailed analysis. In the conclusion, what I want to say is that when we study the two different approaches, we should not already use the superiority of West to conclude that it already West has its dominance over our cultural aspects. What I want to say is that if there are evidences where we can prove that there are some aspects which have some effects on us or inspiration from us, then we have to produce the evidence. Vice versa also. If that is not possible, we have to conclude that there are similarities between two aspects in different regions at the same time. Because knowledgeable people in the two different domains can produce the similar kind of thought process at the same time. So there is no problem in that sense.
Any questions?
I have a question. Why are we where we look at only Nyaya Shastra of Gautama? Because every version of Indian systems has some or the other epistemological of its own. Epistemology of its own. Then why look for similarities with Aristotle with only Nyaya Shastra of Gautama? Why not others?
Yeah, I took Aristotle and at the same time Gautama, because before Aristotle also there were some people who were trying to do the logic. But Aristotle is the first person who did it academically. It means he constructed it in a way it can be considered as a Shastra. So before Gautama also, there may be some people in Veda also we can find some examples where we can consider them as a logical tools. But to put it in a Shastra way, in a Sutra way, Gautama was the first person to do that. That's why we can do the comparison.
I have a small question. Is there no way of determining Paurvaparya of Gautama and Aristotle, as in if there are any, say, majority of the Indian texts that reach Europe went via the Arabs, right? So if you can find that link which took, say, some text of Nyaya to the Europeans, you might be able to find some link there.
We would have claimed those things if we had any historical evidences. Okay. So problem is that in the time of Greek civilization and in the Eastern world, we don't find any major transaction of knowledge between these two cultures.
No, there is no direct transaction, I agree.
Yeah.
But indirectly,
Yeah.
by the Arab texts, Arab Phoenician merchants, a lot of it went. So you don't really have to know the time of Gautama in order to check whether it was Gautama was prior to or after Aristotle.
I agree to the point, but we don't have it. We have to find it.
Again, Aristotle was deceiving him was Socrates. Deceiving him was Pythagoras. Already during the time of Pythagoras, Indian ideas had been transmitted to Greek. For example, the Pythagoras would be equalization. Okay? So we born as so. Okay? This is and if one
reference, first-hand references or any direct quotations, those kind of things you cannot find. But in the time of New Platonists, we have the direct evidence where New Platonists have some ideas getting from Advaita and Buddhism. But until that, we don't have any evidence for now. But in future, we can have it.
It has been conceived by many Western themselves that these were particularly of humanity. But if you open the first next one.
This one,
Yes, the goal of influence. The last time Aristotle was to
Eudaimonia.
the last word is
Eudaimonia, right?
Eudaimonia. Eudaimonia is from Daimon in Sanskrit in Greek is equal to Daimon in Sanskrit. It was the spirit or Devata. The word Devi is from Sanskrit only. So Devata is not. In Greek it was Theos. Theta, Epsilon, Micron, Sigma. Theos. So it is from Sanskrit Deva itself. So you are the English writers because of they also trying to say and you balance by also use your recognitions, which is very strong in athletes.